Welcome to GenRocket. In this video, we're going to talk about return on investment. And of course, software is purchased to provide value, provide increased productivity and quality. And that's what we'll talk about here. So if we look at the cost of poor software quality, CISQ indicated that last year was $2.08 trillion. That's an enormous amount of money because of poor software quality for these different areas. So there's a substantial issue out there in the marketplace. And we know that we need to maximize software quality through testing. That's one of the important factors. And test data is a big factor in testing. So you need the data variety and the volume and the velocity for agile environments of that data. And if we look at, and this is coming from the World Quality Report, the market is still using for test data spreadsheets, which of course labor intensive, limited volume, it's two-dimensional data, or using production data. Now production data is realistic, it's useful, but the challenge in many instances is that it takes quite a while to provision. There's still a limited variety, and some of these solutions, if it's an internally used or an externally purchased tool, can be quite expensive to do this. So in the marketplace, there's a real need for a solution to work very, very well with an agile team for increased coverage and speed so that we can have all the permutations and combinations of data, the negative data, the edge case data, the very fast provisioning time for agile environments, the volume, and so forth. So this is what the driver is, and we believe that can be really helpful to reduce those huge losses that were reported. So how do we justify an investment in GenRocket? This is coming from one of our financial services customer, and they happen to bring in GenRocket for synthetic data and a traditional TDM tool at the same time. And this is just weighing out what we see the expenses are between a traditional tool and GenRocket in this one customer example. So first of all, the licensing typically is much more expensive for the traditional tools. We're very reasonably priced. And you can see when it comes to hosting and maintenance and support, whereas the traditional vendors charge fees for those things, we don't charge for that at GenRocket. Implementation time for GenRocket tends to be less and faster and lower cost. And this is the big one, is that because it's a distributed self-service model where developers and testers can design their own data, there's a very small central staff around GenRocket, but a very large central staff for the traditional tool where they're going and hunting in the production data copy, the masked copy, and that's taking quite a while, a long SLA, where GenRocket generally meets the SLA very, very well, but the traditional tool, that's more of a challenge. And traditional production data isn't meeting all of the data variety requirements, which can be met by GenRocket. So you can see on a side-by-side comparison in an agile environment where there's a need for speed and quality, how compelling the ROI is for GenRocket. And then just to put some specifics on it, here from a financial services customer, again, here are 4 use cases, and you add this up, and again, there are hundreds of use cases for a larger enterprise, but just from these 4 use cases, you can see 208 hours saved here, 8,000, 1,000 hours, 42,000, 320 hours saved per year, 13,000. So just from these 3 use cases, about $64,000 a year being saved. So very, very compelling ROI. Thank you for listening to this GenRocket video.